All right, welcome everybody to the Down and Dirty at 1:30 Central. This is your host, Vashon, and I just wanted to share with you that I decided to change up my office a little bit. I'm actually in my living room today. That's what's kind of fun about what I do. I can, if I don't want to work down, I have a walkout basement in our home that I turned into an office. And when I don't want to work down there, what's nice is that I can work anywhere that I want, that connection. And so today I said, you know what? It's such a nice day. It's almost 60 degrees. And so I'm sitting in our living room and I have a beautiful view out here, which I can show you in a little bit later, of our lake. And we live right on the lake. And so I'm really enjoying the day. And that's one tip I want to give you before we get started, is that you can literally change your attitude just by changing your location sometimes and doing something a little bit different, so that your day is in a different place. So let me go here. I'm going to see who all is live with me today. All right. Hey, Brigitte, I see you there. So for those of you that are logging in right now, go ahead and log in down below. You'll see there's a chat window for chat roll. Log in there, say hello so that I know that you made it on the live hangout. And I'm just going to type a note really quick. All right, we're just getting started. All right. Okay. Well, if you're having any trouble or hearing me or seeing me, just let me know. The best way to do that is to actually message me on Facebook, because next to me here I have my phone so I can see Facebook Messenger. Otherwise, I'd have to flip back and forth between screens. So today I gave something into what I wanted to share with you, and I wanted to focus on 8 important questions. These are 8 questions that less than 20% of the population ask themselves. Okay, this is according to monster.com. Some of you might know of that big career site for jobs. But I really wanted to share these questions with you because they are so important to finding your path in life, to finding your passion, and making sure that you're on the right track to living out the life of your dreams. So what I want to do is I'm going to flip my screen around. I put together a presentation for you as always. What I want to do is I want to share a little bit of background about me for those of you that are new who haven't perhaps been on one of these Down and Dirty hangouts. Is I run an internet-based business. I also run a martial arts studio. Those two things go hand in hand with me because they both are my passions. I love internet marketing. I love coaching and working with people like you. And I absolutely adore the martial arts. I love teaching and helping both little kids, teens, and adults to learn the art of karate, Shorin-ryu karate to be exact. So I found a way to combine my passions, but it took me a little while to get to this point in my life. I've had many different and a graphic designer and have my own graphic design company, which I did. I went to school, went to college, got a degree in graphic arts, and then I started my own graphic design company right out of school. And I very quickly learned that I did not have a lot of experience in marketing a company. And so I ended up only having my own company for about 2 years consecutively, not working for anybody else. And then I ended up working for a big print shop as a graphic designer, and I kept going, working in the printing business, and then I got hired by a large newspaper group to be their graphic designer, and I worked my way up through that company for 16 years to become a senior executive at their corporate office on the internet side. So basically, I was an internet marketer before it was cool. I worked on digital newspapers, helping them to sell internet advertising and to place those ads on websites. So it was an interesting ride, but in the end, I found that I love having my own business more than I did working for somebody else. And so I ended up at one point during my newspaper career, I actually quit my job. I think it was my 6th year that I was there, I quit my job for the newspaper in order to start my own business. And the business that I started was an executive recruiting firm. A lot of people don't know that because I only did it for about because although I had some level of success and I was able to replace the salary that I left from my career in the newspaper, during that year, the people at the corporate office at the newspaper company that I used to work for, they basically recruited me. So here I was, an executive recruiter, and they found out that, you know, I was doing this business, and they ended up recruiting me back into the company for, you know, much bigger. So that with you because really with me in my past doing executive recruiting, and I can explain a little bit about how that works if you're not familiar with that industry. Basically, companies, big corporations hire recruiters to fill high-paid positions within their company. So rather than just posting a job listing, some of these companies would hire a recruiter to find the exact person that they want for that position. And if you find someone, they would pay you a very nice commission, upwards of, you know, per person, depending on the position, of course. And so, you know, it was a very interesting career. I got to talk to some amazing people when I was recruiting, and I did, you know, end up placing quite a few of those folks. But I can tell you, it's interesting what makes someone change careers. You know, what are the values or the primary things that help someone change careers? A little bit of what we're going to be talking about today. So that gives you a little bit of background, and now we're just going to dive into it. But before I do, let me say hello to anyone else who might have jumped on. Oh, hey, Richard's out there. I haven't seen you pop up in a while. Good to see your name there, buddy. And Gabriella, you guys have always been so consistent. I just love it. Good to see you, Gabriella. All right. Well, good. Well, if you didn't hear my story, you can always catch that part on the replay. But I'm going to flip my screen around now so that you can see the presentation that I put together. By the way, did you like my background? This is a different background than I normally have for my Down and Dirty. This is my little living room. We have kind of a Southwest theme going. And I don't know if you can see, but that up there, the stained glass, my husband actually does stained glass. So that's one of my favorite pieces that he did. And he's in the process actually of building a light box for it because we don't have a big enough window that I want to cover up that would put that on there. So yeah, so you get a little bit more view of my life. So let me flip things around. All right. All right, so here are 8 questions that less than 20% of the population asks themselves. All right, so let's find out what those are. So first, I have a quote for you. Your work, no matter what you do, is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied, believe, is good work. The only way to do great work is to love what you have. Don't settle. Stay hungry. Stay foolish. And that's from Steve Jobs. And I don't know, that's obviously one of the founding members of Apple Computers. I really admired his philosophy on life. And I noticed I missed an F there in my quote, but that's all right. So keep that in mind as we go through today's Down and Dirty, that it really comes down to loving what you do. So I'd like you to answer the following questions to see if you are on the right path to your true purpose. Evidently, I was having some keyboard issues. If you're on the right path, purpose. So here is the first one. And throughout this, I'm going to use the word job, but in reality, you could replace that with career, because I'm a firm believer that you don't always work for somebody else. In fact, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, oh, okay, thank you, Gabriella. They're saying the screen didn't flip. Let me try this again. Oh, hold on. Start screen share. All right. Cool. So let me see if I'm going to check really quick. Make sure you guys can see my screen right now. It should say, what is my job? Let me check really quick. Yeah, if I could just get somebody that says they can see my screen. All right. Thank you, Gabriella. Appreciate you texting me on Facebook so that I could see that pop up. Really appreciate that. All right, cool. All right, so the very first question is, what is my job? And like I said earlier, you can replace the word job with career, and for entrepreneurial spirit like I do, boss, you want to be your own boss, then really it's about what's your passion in life. And that's what I wanted to kind of talk about here is this isn't necessarily your career. Your job it's usually what you are the most talented at doing or what you do that helps the most people. Okay? So I want to share a little story with you. It's really short. There's this book that I read years ago. It's called Teaching the Elephant to Dance. It's kind of a cool book, Teaching the Elephant to Dance. It's by author Jim Velasco. And in it, it tells the story of Dr. Denton Cooley. He's a very famous heart surgeon. So Dr. Cooley on his rounds, en route to the operating room. And he saw this surgeon, this famous heart surgeon who's so busy, stop and talk to a man who was mopping the hallway. The two men conversed for nearly 10 minutes before Dr. Cooley dashed into the operating room. Curious, Velasco walked over to the man with the mop and said, "That was a long conversation." The man replied, "Yes, Dr. Cooley and I talk quite often." Then Velasco asked, "What exactly do you do at the hospital?" And the man replied, "We save lives." A role to fill. Everyone has a piece of the puzzle. Everyone, including and especially you, makes a difference. And so when you're thinking about, what's your job, what's the big picture? I mean, no matter what you do right now, be it working for somebody else or working for yourself, what's that big picture as to what you really are doing? And in the case of, apparently this was probably a janitor that they were speaking to, he said, they're saving lives. We are saving lives. And he felt like he was a big part of it. In reality, he is, because every person in the organization makes up the whole. So I wanted to share that, and I hope that that helps you to see the big picture as to why you're here and why you're doing what you're doing. Okay? And thanks again, Gabriella. It looks like you guys lost me for a minute. If you could let me know where you lost me, and I could re-say something. Okay. Yeah, if there's anything that I need to re-record, I'll be happy to do that. I don't know why we're having internet connection issues. Usually the strongest internet is actually up here by the front window. So it kind of surprises me if I'm having slow internet, but never fails when you live out in the country. All right, so we're going to go to number 2. What about my job really counts? And the thing is, this is not the busy work that you do in your business or in your job. This is the meaningful part of your job where you're making the biggest impact and difference. And so, if you can answer these questions, this is really going to help point you to what you should be doing and where you should be focusing your attention, especially if you're new at a new business or a new job. I think it can be a little overwhelming at times because there's such a big learning curve that you forget where you need to focus your energy. And when you don't know where to focus, that's what creates that frustration and that feeling like you aren't getting things done and that you aren't doing what's necessary. So by answering these questions, it can really help you to stay focused and to create a schedule that works with you in growing your business and your life. All right, the third question, how well am I doing it? So, whatever you're focusing on, are you doing it well? Do you have an aptitude for it? I mean, let's be honest. Are you really doing the most meaningful part of your job well? If you're not, perhaps you might be better suited for something else. And this can be a hard question, especially if you work for somebody for a while, or you've built a company based on certain things. Maybe if you're not doing it well and you don't feel like you're successful at it, nor do you like it, then it's time to do some self-evaluation and see what it is about what you're building that you do like. Or maybe you just need to focus on learning some new skill sets that will help you achieve more in your existing career. And that can be a great question to ask yourself, because if you're not being successful, maybe it's because you're avoiding the most important part of your business. You're avoiding doing it for some reason. Okay, so do some soul searching. And for those of you that know me, this is a great time to be taking notes, because I find that if I want to retain information, I need to take notes. And I like to take them in a way that I think about, how can I teach this to somebody else? Because you'll find that every time you sit in on a training such as this, or any other training or webinar, or attend a meeting or event, if you take handwritten notes, you're going to retain it better. And if you take them from the point of view that you're going to teach somebody else how to do it, then you'll retain that information even more. And the other side of it is then you can turn around and repackage the information that you learned and turn it into a webinar, a training, a speech. Maybe you have the opportunity to speak on stage. This is how you become great, is by taking all the information that's coming to you, all the learning, all the knowledge, and then translating that into your own words, so that you can now embrace that as part of who you are and where you're growing your business. I hope that this helps you, and I hope you're getting value so far. Let me see who else is out there while we're waiting. Okay, looks like we still have the same amazing people out there. All right, let's go to question number 4. Is my job an expression of my personal values? This is kind of where the rubber meets the road. I think a lot of times people go into business for the mighty dollar. They want to make more money. That's why they go into business for themselves. That's why they go to work for somebody else. But in reality, if you don't have the same values as the business that you're in or who you're working for, then you probably aren't going to be the best fit for the occupation you choose or chose. You may need to reevaluate how you do business, especially if it's your own business and you're concerned about the values that you're projecting to the public. Then you may need to reevaluate that. I can tell you that I've been in careers in my past where the values just didn't align with who I was. There were certain things that were done on the sales side that I just didn't feel comfortable with. And so, I either had to change careers, or I had to go and talk to my boss at the time in order to change the way that I was working the business, because otherwise I was going to be miserable. I was going to be, I was going to put my place in a very bad position. And I am one of those people that has extremely high values. And to sacrifice that is, to me, that would be the worst possible outcome. So you may not have that luxury if you're working for somebody else. You may not have a boss that understands and is willing to talk to you. So it may be time for you to think about getting your resume out there, or starting your own business where you can shape the business around your own unique and special and valuable values. Okay? All right. Number 5, in your job or career, are you building a life of success but not of significance? Let me explain what that means. So it's one thing to have money. It's completely another to have importance in your field. And this really kind of hit me back to my recruiting days, because there was this saying that we used when I was recruiting somebody, and it's called CLAMS. And it's an acronym, really, is what it is. And what CLAMS stands for is culture, location, ascension, money, and significance. And the reason that these things were so important, these 5 areas were important, these represented the values that would encourage somebody to change careers. So let me give you an example. So let's say I'm talking to a high-paid executive who's doing very well financially in the career he's already in or she's already in. What's going to entice them to leave that career for another one? And everybody's different. Some people are very money motivated, and the only way that they'll leave a place is if they're going to achieve more income, more financial success. So that would be the money part of clams. Some people, it's about culture. Maybe they have a very stressful culture at their current career or job occupation, and they're looking for a culture that's a little more relaxed, casual. Like Google did a great job of this. They allow you to bring your pets to work. They also have their own child care center there on campus, so that if you have children, you can go and see your children. You can even bring them up to your desk. And then they have, and I've been to Google's offices. This is why I know this. They also have I want to call them babysitters, but they're more like nannies who, if you're like, say you had your baby at your desk, they would come up and they would pick up your baby and take them down to the nursery, so that your baby wasn't disrupting the rest of the office. So yeah, it was amazing just visiting their culture. But this was one of the reasons they were able to entice such amazing minds and talented individuals into Google, was because of their culture. And some people are attracted to that. I know I definitely was impressed. The other thing is location. A lot of people, they want the flexibility to be able to travel more, or to live closer to family members or friends. And so this was another way that I was able to entice people into a business, is if it had comparable income and everything else, but the location was better for them, then they were more likely to move. And then ascension. Ascension means able to grow in the company. Like maybe that executive had reached a point in their existing company where they couldn't go any higher. There was no other opportunities within that company. So they might be more apt to move if they knew that at the new company they could get a higher position. Okay. We already talked about money. And then significance is importance. Like a lot of times when people work in a business, they don't feel like they're being heard. Maybe they don't have a very important title, or maybe what they're doing for the company isn't being appreciated. So a lot of folks, one of their values is to find a place where they're important, where they're significant, where maybe they have a staff that works under them. So you have to think about this, and I think clams is a great way to look at your own values. What is the most important? If you were to choose one of these 5 for you, which one of these values really hits home for you? Like, I know all of them are important or somewhat important. You say, yes, that's what I'm chasing all the time. That's what I want. And whichever one it is, then focus on that in building your business or building a career that really caters to that value that you crave. And you'll find that in doing that, you're going to find more happiness in your life as well. Okay? Yeah, pretty cool. All right, we're on to number 6 now. So what can I do to help me become more passionate about my current role? And, I actually ask this question of myself quite often, because I believe that none of us can stay stagnant. You can't stay with the same, the same daily action plan every single day of the week, because things are moving. Technology moves so quickly. The internet business that many of us are in, it moves so quickly. So you have to think about, what are you most passionate about, and how can you bring in more passion into your current career or business? And so I want to share with you, one of the things that I recently did is I decided that I really enjoy inspiring people, be it my children or others. And one of the things I've always done for my kids, and this is kind of where this came from, is I pack their lunch every morning. And obviously they kind of help and stuff, but I always put a note in there from me, a handwritten note from mom. And it usually has something in there that, kind of inspires them, or if I know they have a test, I try to, encourage them to do well. And sometimes I put interesting quotes. Sometimes I give them little tidbits on, how to be a better friend and how to deal with maybe a problem they're having at school. And that's one of the things that both of my sons have always said that they really appreciate about me, is that I always take the time to do that. And so I started thinking about that, and that at what point in your life did that stop for you? Because it seemed like as an adult, there was a certain point where you just don't get that type of encouragement like you did when you were a kid. And I thought, how cool would it be if I could create something for adults where they got daily lunch notes, kind of like the ones you get in elementary school if you were one of the lucky children who had a parent that put a note in there. So I decided to create something called, lunch notes for adults, for grown-ups. And I want to show that to you really quick before I forget about it. So let me do that. So it's kind of big. Let me shrink it down a little bit. But yeah, I created this thing called Lunch Notes from the Tough Mama, and I even have a Tough Mama lunch pail. And I hand write the notes, but I also type it out because some people may not be able to read my cursive writing. But this is something I started about, 8 days ago, and it's really taken off. I mean, I'm kind of impressed at how many people have signed up for this overnight. And I hope for those of you, if you're listening on the Hangout and you'd like a little daily encouragement note, that you sign up for it if you haven't already. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is something that I'm passionate about. And I thought, if you can find something that you're passionate about and work that into your life and into your business in some way, it makes life that much more enjoyable. All right. And so, are there things that you'd like to do more of in your career? What are those things? You don't have to answer it right now, but this is a great question to ask yourself. What types of things do you really enjoy doing? And then, are there things that you'd like to do less of? I'm sure we all can name many of those. And what I've found is that when I make a list of the things in my business and in my life that I'd like to do less of, I also try to think of, who can I hand this off to that would be better suited to take that on? Now, obviously not everything I can delegate, but I try to delegate as much as I can. And I can tell you, it relieves a lot of stress when you just relinquish that control. It's hard sometimes because if you're like me, or if you're a mom, and let's admit it, that nobody can do it better than mom. All right, let's just all admit it. For you moms that are on the line, nobody can do it better than mom. You know that it's not going to get done as well as if you did it. However, in the long run, I've learned that if I'm the one that's always doing it because I don't think anybody else can do it as well, then I don't have a life and I become very unhappy, okay, for lack of a better word. So what I've started to do is to realize that they may not do it as well as I would like them to do it, but at least it's something I don't have to do anymore. And I think it just kind of comes with age and letting things go. But I do recommend trying to delegate stuff. And if you really want it done well, then slowly try to teach them to do it a little bit better. But don't try to be a control freak, because that'll backfire and then nobody will want to do anything that you hand off to them. I learned that the hard way too. But if you're in a career, you may want to see if there's some things that might be better to hand off to somebody else. Especially, if you work for somebody and you have a boss that you can talk to them and ask them, if there's some things that you could do more of, and if there's some ways that you could hand off some of those things that you're just not good at to other people that work in your company. And maybe you'll have that opportunity, maybe not. But it's always worth a try. What's the worst that can happen? What, they're going to let you go? They're going to fire you? I used to be afraid of that, but I can tell you, it doesn't hurt as bad getting fired from something you weren't suited for than it does in trying to fit into a puzzle that you're not the right piece to fit into. Okay, so take the time to make your needs known. And when you do that, you're going to find that either A, things are going to work better for you, or B, you're going to be given a sign that you're not in the right place. And then you can find another opportunity. I promise you, you can. And maybe that new opportunity is working for yourself and doing what you really love to do and that you're really good at doing, but you've just not been brave enough to do it. Yeah. All right, so let's go to number 7. This really kind of leads into it, right? Is there another career that I would rather be doing? Okay. And nobody says you have to be pigeonholed into a single career. You know, I'm a firm believer that you can have many different careers in your lifetime. In fact, you could even have multiple careers at the same time. You know, like me with my martial arts school and my internet marketing and coaching business. And they work together really well. Like I use my internet business to market my martial arts school. And with my martial arts school, you know, the peace and the stress relief and everything else that I get from that helps to influence how I grow my internet business. So it's really kind of neat how things can all work out if you let them. So here's just a little bit more on this is, you know, don't make yourself miserable in your business or your job, depending on what you do. You know, there's no honor in that. Whoever said that, you know, you've got to make sacrifices forever is not right. You know, I know we all make sacrifices, you know, for a dream or for our children or for our spouse or for our family. However, if you're making a sacrifice is when you still see light at the end of the tunnel. Like you're going to make a sacrifice for a period of time, but you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and then you can release some of that sacrifice. If you're constantly making sacrifices in your life and in your business and everything, and you're just miserable, then you're not on the right path. And it's time to take action in finding or creating a brand new career. Do not let it get to the point where it destroys your health. And I want to share a kind of a personal story with you from me. And that is in the first 6 years that I worked for the newspaper business, the job that I had there, I was the marketing director at a small or mid-sized newspaper in Iowa. For those of you that know Iowa, I worked for the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier. And I worked my way up the ladder there from graphic designer to internet marketer. And I can tell you that the last year that I was there, I was really stressed out. I mean, the deadlines were insane. And, you know, you had to be there at like 5 in the morning because it was an afternoon newspaper. And the stress was building on me. And when you're in the middle of stress, you don't really, I mean, you feel it, but you don't realize how bad it's gotten until I actually took a vacation. Like I hadn't had one in like a year because of all the stress, and we didn't have enough staffing and on and on. And so finally I got a week off. I used one of my vacation weeks, and I went with my family to Costa Rica. And I don't know if anybody's ever been to Costa Rica. It's a beautiful place and just so peaceful. And I mean, rainforest and waves and surf, and it was wonderful. And so I was there for a week. Well, when I came back after the vacation, that very first Monday at work, I literally had an anxiety attack. And I don't know if any of you've ever had an anxiety attack, but it felt like how I envisioned a heart attack to be. And at the time, I mean, get this, I was 29 years old. I was not an old woman. I mean, I was young. I was 29 years old on that Monday. All of a sudden, here I am sitting at my desk at the newspaper, and I'm gripping the edge of my desk because the pain is so intense in my chest. I couldn't move. I couldn't stand up. I didn't know what was going on. And all of a sudden, one of my colleagues there at the newspaper saw me over there, and they saw me gripping my desk, and they came over and they said, "Are you okay?" And all I could say was, "No." And they had to call an ambulance. I'm not kidding. They called an ambulance on me. I had to go into the hospital, and immediately, here's something kind of cool. If you go to the emergency room and they suspect that you might be having a heart attack, you get in like right away. There's no, they don't make you wait for like 7 or 8 hours in the waiting room. If you're having what appears to be a heart attack, they boom, put you ahead of everybody. In fact, I remember there was somebody in the emergency room that had a gunshot wound at the time that I came in, and I got pushed ahead of them. So kind of insane, but they pushed me in, they ran the EKG and everything, and thankfully I was not having a heart attack. It was stress. It was anxiety, complete stress. And so they ended up giving me some meds to help calm me down. And I stayed there for several hours, and my husband came, and I ended up having to take off another few days of work just to calm back down. So that tells you right there that I was in the wrong career. If I was that stressed out, and all of a sudden, and what the doctor said was, here I was so relaxed on vacation, and then when I came back from vacation, I immediately was thrown back into that high stress world, that it literally shocked my system. And that's what caused that anxiety to come on. So I want to tell you that from a personal standpoint, don't make yourself miserable, and really be aware of the level of stress that you put yourself under, and try to find a way to either change careers, do something different in your existing career, talk to somebody, or start your own business doing something you love. Even if it's for less money, you can find a way to make it work. It may mean downsizing your current lifestyle in order to afford that. It may mean doing some drastic things, but in the long run, you're going to find so much more happiness and health when you're doing what you truly love. All right, before I keep going here, make sure you guys are still with me. Where'd you go? There you are. Oh, hey, I just see Dan popped in. Good to see you, Dan. So yeah, you guys still with me? Are you getting value from this? Is this helping you guys? Yes, Gabriella, stress definitely can kill. Yep. All right, let me keep going then. So here's the big question, number 8. This is the final question. Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you currently doing what you love? Full-time, not just part-time, full-time. Why are you not doing it? And a lot of times it's fear. It's fear that you're not going to make money. It's fear that that you'll have success. Some people are afraid of success. Some people are afraid of failure. Some people are afraid what other people will think or what they'll say. So I want to share this little quote with you as well. This came from a book I read years ago called One. It's the number 1. It's how many people does it take to make a difference? And I don't even know, I have it here on my desk or next to me. I was going to see who the author was, but I think it's a series of authors. It's like a collection. Oh, Dan Zadra, Z-A-D-R-A is who wrote the book. So rust out. Rust out is far more deadly than burnout. Like when I had my anxiety attack, I was definitely at the burnout phase. It wears down your body. So that's what burnout does. Wears down your body. But rust out is different. It wipes out your soul and your spirit. So I'm sure you know people that are like this. Maybe they've been in a career for so long that they absolutely hate that they don't even have any dreams anymore. They have no dreams. They just have this dead look in their eyes and in their spirit because they've rusted out. They've let themselves go into this so long, and they don't see a way out any longer, and they've stopped looking for a way out. Don't become that person. And that, I want to tell you that I did know somebody in my former career who had been, was kind of one of the patriarchs of the business I was in. And I'm not going to name this person's name, but they were older. And here I was at the time, I was a young woman. And I saw how they handled their career and their life. And I remember thinking to myself, I cannot stay in this business as long as this person, because they just had this dead look in their eyes. They didn't look happy at anything they were doing. They were going through the motions. Sure, they were getting their work done. They were doing just enough to get by so that they didn't get fired, so that they could retire in the business and get their pension and receive, their retirement. But to me, that's not life. And I know that most of you here, I'm speaking to the choir because you know that, that's not life. But for those of you that are watching this, even as a recording, don't let yourself rust out. I mean, if you're at the burnout stage, take action today to do something better with your life and start, making those risks. The worst that's going to happen is you'll fail and you have to go back to work for somebody else. The best that's going to happen, you're going to create an amazing life that people admire and want to emulate because you're doing what you love and you have that light in your eyes. So here's my little thing is go out and really make a difference. Do it now. Do it today. Do it, and then watch your heart start beating. And if you've ever met somebody, older than you, like much, much older than you, who loves what they're doing, who just has a passion for it, and you can see it in their eyes, they just light up and it makes them look more youthful than they are. Those are the people you should seek out. You should ask questions. Ask them how they got started. What did they do to make their business turn into something amazing? And I bet you'll find that they took risks, they followed their heart, and they did it anyway, no matter what anybody said to them. So I want to leave you with this final quote. If you want to make the days in your life really matter, then you must love something. And love is really what it's all about, in my opinion. Unless you find something you love, or you find people to be around that you love, you're always going to be in a dark place. So I challenge you, if you're not there now, to really go out there and do it. And even though you may struggle at achieving success in whatever it is that you love, know that you are doing more by trying to reach your dreams than 90% of the population. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flip my screen back around. See if you guys can see me again. All right, so I hope that you got some value out of today. I hope that you can feel the passion that's in my soul when I share these down and dirties with you, because I really do. I love what I do. I love that I have the opportunity to help others. And most importantly, that I get to do it from such a great place. I don't have to drive into traffic. I can, sit here in my living room and talk to people like you from all over the world. And that's why I love what I do. And if you are somebody that, doesn't have a career that you love, or you're struggling in your business, feel free to reach out to me. Send me a message. Maybe I can help you in some way, or direct you to somebody that can. And that's really what it's about. It's about, when you reach success, when you send that elevator up and you get to the top floor of your success, it's about sending the elevator back down to pick up the rest of the people that want to get to that top floor. And that's what I want to do for you. So let me know if I can help you in any way. And I hope that you all have a great week, and we will talk to you next week on the Down and Dirty at 1:30 Central. Take care, everyone. Bye.